process would speed up. They'd get more of them in the fields around England, like a communication process.
How did you even get crop circle makers to talk to you?
They approached us. They had seen us there for several years, and we just thought these people were like, hoaxers, that they're just kind of making up tall tales. They can't really do it. But they said to us, do you want to see us make crop circles? We're going to do one. The first one was in the daytime, and Linda Moulton Howe was there too. And they said, we've paid for the field. The farmer knows about it. If you just want to watch us make one, you're welcome to come. And we said, hey, we've got nothing to lose. We went out and watched Matt Williams and his team, do a legal formation in the daytime.
All right, so what exactly happened?
Well, here's what happened, Art. We had been using this electrostatic measuring device. You might be familiar with this. It measures electrostatic charges in a laboratory environment. Yeah.
Yes, I am.
And now you have experienced these kind of anomalous electrostatic charges in your amateur radio antennas, because
Yes.
I've heard you talking to Bonnie in the past about these kind of anomalous energies you're getting you can't explain.
Absolutely correct.
Right. Well, when I heard that show, I think it was about a year ago, my ears perked up because we had been measuring these crop circles with our static electricity meter, and we thought we had a litmus test for distinguishing the so-called real ones from the man-made ones, because the first three man-made ones that we knew were man-made that had been done in public and filmed, there was no energy charge in the meter. They were like statically flat across the whole circle. And other ones, the meter would jump around like a couple hundred volts as soon as you went into the circle.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And sometimes it's gone up to 1,000 volts.
That's a whole lot.
The one we did in Kansas last year, and the pictures of this actually are on the website in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. If you click on pictures, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. We got like a 2,000-volt change in a circle that was only like 12 feet across, and it seemed to affect the film and everything. We can talk about that in a moment. Well, we thought, hey, if we watch Matt Williams make a crop circle, we can test our hypothesis, does the man-made one affect the meter? And he and his crew went out there and made them with the ropes and the boards, and we thought, this is not like the other ones we've seen, but at least we'll be able to test it. Well, the meter started jumping around, and our whole theory that we had for the past year that the man-made ones were statically flat just went out the window. But, hey, that's science. I mean, we had data, and it went against what our hypothesis was, but tough luck. What we realized was the man-made ones were creating this change in static charge, too. We just didn't have a large enough sample size.
What were you in, a wheat field or what?
Yeah, we were in a wheat field.
All right, well, let's say we've got fairly dry wheat, tall, dry wheat. Wouldn't the process of compacting that down, you'd have wheat rubbing on wheat, you'd have the possibility of an electrostatic charge accumulating, I would think, wouldn't you?
Completely. That's exactly what's going on. I think what you're getting towards is what we're becoming to believe is true about them. It has something to do with the pressure, maybe the piezoelectric effect.
Yes.
You know what I'm getting at? Yeah, I think you're going in the same direction.
I certainly do.
There's a pressure there, and this is something that Colin Andrews pointed out to me, that normally when the stalks of wheat are standing there, they're like a capacitor because they're insulated by air. But when they're on the ground and flattened, they're now touching each other, physically touching.
That's right.
It could create energy currents circulating around in a swirling spiral motion in the circle that you don't normally have in a wheat field. And that in itself could be generating energies, which we believe, the people I work with, Ron and others, that could be responsible for all sorts of changes in the wheat plants, irrespective of whether it was created by ionic plasmas or stomper boards or extraterrestrials, which really do leave crop circles behind.
Okay.
Pressure is changing, yeah.
Okay, then why wouldn't it be reasonable to project, Doctor, that the simple creation of an electrostatic field in some specific formation, in other words, you could create an artificial electrostatic field, for example, in a room, or in a large aircraft hangar or something. You could set up instruments that would create an electrostatic field in a certain pattern around somebody, and then you might begin to measure. You could even control the intensity of the electrostatic charge, for example, Doctor, and get in the middle of this and see what kind of things manifest themselves.
Well, that's definitely a very good experiment.
Is it?
I think it is. It's because when you make those energy changes, and you know that static electricity, it doesn't have to have a lot of amps. You could have high voltage but low amperage.
Very high voltage and very low current, yes.
Right. But you know what subtle energy says is you don't need a lot of charge to make something happen. It could be a subtle field. Now, here's the thing. If it's in a coherent shape, like a crystalline form, one of these sacred geometry shapes that you see in crop circles,
yes,
and it has that kind of electrostatic pattern that is different from the surrounding field, it really could create an effect that you may not get if you don't have a shape there. In other words, the shape combined with the electrostatic field.
yes. Well, that's why I said.
Yeah.
And for example, a big hanger, you create an electrostatic field and duplicate, pick a crop circle that's had a very large anomalous effect when people enter it and duplicate that and create an electrostatic field. You could even, as I say, control the level of the charge and then measure paranormal phenomena of those who are inside that field, and you could even test at different voltage ranges.
No, you could do that. I'm not sure if the static charge is the only thing that's going on there, but that's certainly an interesting experiment. It's certainly an interesting idea.
Well, that would either rule in or rule out the static field itself as a causative agent. You know, about a year ago, I remember the sudden excitement in the crop circle community about the measuring of electrostatic charges. I remember that suddenly that was the answer. We were going to be able to separate the real, true crop circles from the man-made baloney. And that was going to be our savior in doing that. Well, maybe not then, is the answer, I guess. According to what you just said, Doctor. So is that right? In other words, electrostatic measurement is not going to be the key to judging the reality. The origin of a crop circle, man's hand or not.
No, I think that's right, Art. I don't think you can easily tell the origin of a crop formation. I think it's been assumed in the research community that if you get weird effects around a crop circle, it had to have a very weird cause. And I think what we're learning now is that the crop circle itself, just the shape in a living material, actually has effects on the surrounding field and in the crop circle that produce weird effects, but it doesn't necessarily mean that something strange had to come down into the field to do that. It's just that the circle itself, well, I think it acts like a crystal radio. Did you play with those when you were a kid? The radios have a crystal in it, and you don't need a battery. It just seems to operate with just the power of the radio wave coming through the crystal.
You know I did, Simeon.
Yeah, I bet you did. And
listen, so let's get down to cases. Crop circles. Sure. How many crop circles are, without question, not man-made?
We have to talk about the time period. I think before the 90s, I think a large percentage of them were non-man-made. They go back in history thousands of years, and there are, references in the Dead Sea Scrolls to strange lights in the fields and strange markings. And the mowing devil in the 1600s in England. And even in our own century, the Tully saucer nests in Australia, and they also had them in New Zealand at the same time. I've spoken to people that have had friends that have seen UFOs in the vicinity where crop circles were found the next day, swirled areas of grass and wheat. And, there's a wonderful book that documents this, the secret history of crop circles. And it talks about all the pre-modern crop circles, which are really interesting. Most of these, though, I want to point out, are simple circles or groups of circles. They're not the elaborate patterns that we tend to see today.
Yes, so but without question, Doctor, I'm just a layman, but I've watched crop circles very carefully, and in my estimation, there have been a few that it would have been completely, totally impossible for man to have made. I mean, I know of no other way to put it. You look at them, and there's just no blinking way.
I would have thought the same thing several years ago.
And now you don't.
I don't. I have met the human circle makers. In Opening Minds, I document how I saw them make a circle at night. They operate with a military precision that you would not believe.
Do you now believe that all crop circles are man-made?
No. I think there are some that are not made by people, but I believe, and I'm not alone in this. I mean, I believe that the elaborate artistic ones that we enjoy looking at so much, the big elaborate artistic ones,
yes,
are the work of human circle-making artists